Let us continue with our lesson, and since we have already added a data binding to our layout over here, which is for custom tax list view, and the next step is to go and create an adapter for our recycle view. So this recycle view need an adapter. So for that, what we'll do is we'll go to the view section over here, and inside this view we have an adapter package, and let's create a new Kotlin class, and let's give a name of a tax adapter. Just create it, and we need to pass a constructor argument over here, and I'll just call it as a private val of a tax list, and this will be of a array list, and this array list we have a tax response. So the array list is of a tax response type, and if you go back to the home fragment, we have created a same tax list which is of array list, and this array list is of a tax response. And whenever we get the response body, and inside whenever we have a response body, we are passing that the response body to as a collection of an array list to our tax list array. So this array list needs to be passed to our tax adapter over here. That's why we have created the same tax list of an array list of a response type. So for that, next we have to create a subclass which is of, let's see, a class, and we'll call it as a view holder. And this view holder is a nested class in Kotlin. So it's not an inner class. Inner class is different in Kotlin. So if you want to create an inner class, that should be of a inner keyword. So we have to make use of inner. But this is a nested class. So we don't want to create an inner class because the inner class has a reference to the outer class, and the inner class can cause a memory leak. So that's why we don't want to create an inner class. We just want to have a nested class. So nested class in Kotlin by default is a static, and if you have a static class, which means we can access the properties of this class through the outer class and just by the dot notation. So we have created a nested class over here which is of a view holder, and through this view holder we have to pass a argument of, let's say, binding. And if we take a binding, a custom view, so if you may be wondering that custom tax list view, where does this class came from? So this custom tax list view binding was created from our custom tax list view. So this is the layout that we created and added a data binding to it, and through the data binding it has created a class for us to make use as a custom tax list view binding. So if you see the name over here and the name over here is quite the same. So custom tax list, custom underscore tax underscore list underscore view, it has created a custom tax list view for us. So that's the power of the data binding. It has created a separate class for us to make use, which is of a custom tax list view binding. So whatever your view name is, it will start with the same view name, and it will add a binding at the end. So suffix will be binding. So we have to extend a recycle view, recycle view dot of view holder. So it should be of a view holder. We need to extend it, and inside this we need to pass a view. So item view would be binding. So this binding has a reference to our view, so we can get a view from here which is of root. So you can see this is a view that we need to pass it over here. So this binding has a reference for all of our view. You can see we have a text, view, status, title. This is all coming from our here. So title, body, status, these are the view that we have already created in our data binding in our layout. And when we have that class over here which is of a custom tax list view binding, as a binding we have created a variable, and this binding has reference to all of that view that we have in our view. So dot, you can see we have everything that's in our view. So we need to get a root view from here. So that's it. We have created a subclass or a nested class in Kotlin as a view holder. And let's create one variable over here which is of a var, and I can just call it as a tax list binding. So tsk tax list binding of a custom tax list binding, which is of equals to a binding. So we created another variable which is of a tax list binding, and this is of our custom tax list binding, and which is equals to the binding. So we just want to have access to this variable from the outer class. That's why we created this tax list view binding variable and assign it as a binding that we have over here. So since we have a nested class over here, let's go and extend this one. So what we need to do is we need to extend a RecycleView adapter over here. So I can just call it as a RecycleView dot adapter, and the adapter we need to pass the view holder over here. So that should be of a tax, no, not the tax, it's a tax adapter, the tax adapter dot view holder. And yeah, we need to create as a constructor, and that should be fine. And now we have to implement, let's implement the members, and on create get item count, and on bind view holder. So we need to implement all of this method. Just click on OK. So first of all, let's get the count, item count. For the item count, we need to get we can just return the size of the tax list. So tax list dot size, we should have a get item count. So item count means that the tax list of size, how many item it's in our array list. And next is create a view holder. So let's go and create a view holder. Just remove this one, and we can just create a private, we can just create a variable of our binding, and this is of a, where is over here, this is custom tax list view binding. So I can just say this is our custom tax list view binding, and we can call the data binding util, and the binding util. So data binding util dot inflate. So we can inflate the layout of a layout inflator from the parent dot context, and context comma, then we need to get the layout are the layout dot the custom. Why this is not okay? So we need to import this one. So alt and enter. So r dot layout that we have a custom tax list view, which is of this layout that we have created. And after we have this view, then we just say as a root view as a parent, view group as a parent, and attached to the parent is of let's say of a false, false. So we have a binding, and let's return, we need to return the, so we need to return a view holder. So we need to return a view holder of a binding. So return a view holder, and we pass the binding to our constructor over here. And the next step is to unbind view holder. So we need to implement this one. Just clear this one out. And what we can do over here is we can just get a data is off, post is a tax response, right? Tax response is of a tax response, and which is equal to of our tax list, and we can get a position. So the data that we are getting is of a tax response, and each of equal to the array list and the position. So from the array list we are selecting the current position over here, and now we can say that the holder dot or tax list view binding dot, it should be of a tax, right? So tax. So this tax is coming from over here. If you go to the text layout, and we have created over here, this is the variable name that we created, and in the tax adapter we are passing the view holder, the binding the tax. In the variable we are assigning the data that we get from our array list. So now we have a array list ready, and I think we just have to implement all of this. And for this class, let us move it to the bottom. I think that should be better. At the end I will move that one over here, so that should look fine. So we have implemented our RecycleView.adapter, and we have implemented the data binding. Everything look fine. So on the next step we will go and initialize this adapter in our RecycleView. So let's meet up in the next lecture. Till then, have a great day.